Let's try that now. I know. Yeah, I think it's working now. Should be. Somebody say whether it's working or not. I think it's because I have my AirPods in. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm expecting a beat. Really don't know how much it will be by. It's just dependent on Dell. We'll see what they do as far as how much of the procurement role they get out of Dell for this past quarter. I showed some numbers from last quarter. They got roughly $90 million is what TSSI benefited from the 1.8 billion that passed through to them for the servers that Dell delivered. This quarter, Dell was expecting 7 billion, so like an over a 3x on the amount of servers that they were going to ship out. So if TSSI gets the same throughput, like it was roughly 5% of it of the business, they should see substantial increase in procurement. Their Georgetown facility has been up and running since May 7th. I think it was fully operational on June, the 1st of June, is what they said at least. So if we got a good month and a half out of that, data integrations should also be up. Those two things combined should deliver a pretty good quarter. Now, how the market feels about it, we'll see. I think if we get anything double what we saw last quarter in revenues, it should rocket. But you never know how the market's going to react to earnings. I think what will be really good for them this quarter is to see their higher margin business, the data systems integration. It would be nice to see higher revenue there and to see the benefit from that on their bottom line for the net income. Because that's a 30% margin business. Procurement, while it's great and all to have that as a buffer, it's only like 4% or 3% margin business. So you're looking at a 10x higher margin for the data systems integration. So that's really where their juice is for this company. It's where SMCI has made a lot of money. You know, they didn't have a great earnings yesterday, but they still reported like $5 billion in revenue. But they're also a really low margin business. So market wants to see margin expansion. I think we could get that this quarter along with really strong procurement numbers. And if they're able to deliver on those two things, then we should get a good bounce here out of the earnings. Yeah, the market is stupid. Sometimes you'll see double beats and raise and the stock will go down, and then you'll see stocks that miss top and bottom, don't raise guidance, and then they go up. It is what it is. I think the thing you really just need to be concerned about is the actual numbers that are reported. You know, as long as you're not in super short dated calls, you'll be fine. Just hold it. This is a stock you're probably going to want to hold for a year or two anyways as the AI thing plays out, because they're going to continue to benefit from this, and they're adding capacity, so they don't have to stop here, right? They may go a couple of quarters and the new Georgetown facility is maxed out and they want to expand again. And every time they expand, that's just going to be more revenue for them in the future. So if you don't think AI is going anywhere in the next 5 to 10 years, there's really no reason to panic sell this. I mean, it could fall back to 20. There's only a 13 million float, and retail controls like 50 million, or not 50 million of it. 50% of that 13 million float is retail. So if we get a bad revenue number for whatever reason, say Dell doesn't use them, you know, as heavily as they did in the previous quarter for procurement, then the stock may drop. And if it does, I see it just as a buying opportunity. It's in the Russell now, so institutions are adding to this, and that'll help. We really need to get analyst coverage. There's not a single analyst covering this stock. And really, it's wild to me because there's so many stocks that are unprofitable in the Russell that are covered by analysts. So it really just, it doesn't make any sense that this one is not covered because they're profitable. There just aren't that many companies in the 3,000 that are generating, you know, free cash flow. And their balance sheet's not that bad. Like, they have debt, but it was good debt, right? It was for their new facility. They've already said that they could pay it off organically in 2 years, or they could tap their S3, which is like, I don't know, 5x the amount they spent on the facility, which was 30 million. And if they do that, yeah, it'll be dilution and it will suck short term, but they could instantly pay off that facility and be in a position where they have $100 million cash in hand and they're free cash flow positive. Like, it's not a terrible place to be, especially for a smaller, newer company. Yeah. The numbers and the progress is what matters. I would just ignore, this has run up a lot. That's another thing, right? That you have to factor in. People could just be profit taking. I'm looking, I don't see anything yet, at least not on mine. Usually, I know I'm using Hood here to do the chart, but Thinkorswim is usually really good about posting news as soon as it comes out. Right now, it's just showing from yesterday or early this morning that they were reporting this afternoon after close. And it's a really small company too, right? I have the Edgar website up for filings just to see if for some reason it posts there. Usually they'll post it first. You'll see it on the news outlets and online before you'll see it on the Edgar website. So let's see here. Still nothing. I mean, and it shows the stock's not really moving right now in after hours. Well, they had their earnings call at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So they should release it like before then. I hope it's before then because I'm going to have to leave in like 20 minutes. Let me see too. Looking online, I don't see anything. Is anybody else seeing anything yet? And the other thing, that a lot of people have discussed is the fact that they pulled this forward a week. I was really curious to see if they had something material to share. Sometimes companies will pull forward because they have information that they don't want to break before they can get it out. And this seems like a good time. They moved the earnings call forward. So originally it was next week. It was estimated. So it was estimated from like the 13th through the 21st, they would release earnings in that period. And that's just based on when they historically do it. So they pulled it forward pretty much an entire week to the 6th. And I'm hoping, which, hope is not the best thing to trade on, but I'm hoping that they had something material to share, and that's why they did it. Let's see. Let's search online. The other bad thing about a stock like this is that the conference call's at 5 p.m. Eastern time, so they should be out soon. Here we go. Q2 EPS was 0.06, same year over year. Sales was 43.97 million, which was up from 12 million year over year. So that is pretty low, honestly. So if they were still positive free cash flow, I really want to see, this might drop on this. And there were really no it's probably going to drop. There really wasn't much in the way of expectations for like analysts because there's no coverage. There isn't like an expected. So people were just going to look at this as a quarter, like from a quarter over quarter basis. So last quarter they had 99 million in revenue. So this is down like 50% quarter over quarter. Now, granted, it is up like 200% year over year. Let's see. So here's what the press release says. I'll read it to you guys. In the second quarter, this is from the CEO, they had substantial year-over-year growth across key financial metrics, including a 262% increase revenue and a 103% increase in adjusted EBITDA. Strong positive cash flow, commented the CEO. Total revenue for the first half exceeded total revenue for the second half of 2024 by quite a bit. I think they were 110 over the first two, and this one they're like 130 or 140. Yeah, this is probably going back to $20. Total revenue for the first half exceeded total revenue in the second half. We already said that. These results reflect strong operational execution, bunch of filler. The outlook for our industry remains exceptionally strong, and the demand across our core markets, particularly in data center infrastructure and AI rack integration, continues to accelerate, reinforcing the belief that we are in a significant and substantial growth cycle with strategic groundwork. Now, I'm curious to see what made up these revenues. So procurement was 33 million, which is way down, which I thought it might be, but then I kind of talked myself out of it looking at what Dell was doing. So it looks like Dell only passed through about 1%, actually less than 1% of their servers that they shipped out. Now, systems integration revenues, those were actually up. So this is the important thing I would look at for this quarter. Yeah, short dated calls are going to get wrecked. So now their procurement revenues, which are lumpy anyways. So remember, last year they were 70 million in Q3, and then like 40 million in Q4, and then 99 million in Q1. Systems integration revenue is 9.5 million for this quarter, and it was only 7.5 million for last quarter. So that's up like over 20%, which is pretty big for them. And that's the service. Now, systems integrations is where they're higher, where their margins are much higher. Facilities management, that was down, but it's really only like a 1 to 2 million thing each quarter anyways. Their gross profit was 7.8 million. Their net income was 1.5. That was actually up. The diluted EPS was about right on track. For what was expected, 0.06. I think it was 0.12 last quarter. So quarter over quarter, it's going to look like shit. But again, that's because they had such a big quarter for procurement last quarter. And a lot of that, I think, was probably due to possibly due to tariff front running. So in the first 3 months, companies were front running the tariffs. So they had that big pull forward. So this is more normalized for procurement. Next quarter, who knows? It could be 60 million and be back up 100% again. That's why I think everybody really needs to pay attention to the systems integration revenues. Those are up. 9.5 million is pretty good. I was really hoping to see over 10 million, but we don't know how long the facility was really up and operational. In Georgetown, they said they started May 7th, but they weren't full capacity until June. And that's if they actually got to that. So we'll see on the calls at 5. I doubt I'll stay on till 5. But they'll have to add color for like how much volume did go through there in June. Did they actually start at full capacity in June for the Georgetown facility? To me, this is a pretty easy dip buy at $20 if it can get back down there again. I think that's where this will settle out because that has been a pretty good area of support going back till, I don't know, back to June when it first broke out after the last earnings, and it's touched that area twice now. So I think it's probably a good spot to start adding again. If not, maybe this bounces. I think the market might get a little bit more excited once they look at these numbers from the perspective that their higher margin business where they actually make money is up 20% quarter over quarter and just had an all-time high quarter at 9.5 million. Procurement really isn't that big a deal. Like, it's nice to have, and I hope that they can somehow fill this in with an additional customer. See, that's the other thing that is not in this press release, and I don't think they would release this ahead of the call. I think if they're going to talk about new customers, they're going to talk about it on the earnings call at 5 o'clock. So if you're in shares, I would probably just sit tight and at least wait until the earnings call to see what Daryl and the team, Daryl's their CEO, say about the, see what they say about potential acquisitions, not acquisitions, but partnerships. And we were really hoping that they'd mention something about AMD based off of a post on LinkedIn. But see, it's already almost back to 24 right now. So that's why it pays to be patient. These knee-jerk reactions, that's retail. Retail is stupid. They saw the revenue, they freaked out. Pretty much what I said would happen if revenue missed in my video last night. But you have to look at the action, like the numbers are important. Like, where are they growing? They're growing where their margins are the highest. Like, it's nice to grow where it's nice if procurement came in at $300 million, right? But the margins on that are like 3%. That's nothing. Like, you're not going to make a lot of money doing that, which is why they built the Georgetown facility, which is why they won't scale out the data systems integration. Now it's at 2550. Right. I mean, it would not shock me if this thing is back at $30 next week. At 26. That initial reaction is all dumb retail, and I feel bad for anybody that sold it. I wish I didn't have a damn order in to fill it, but we'll see what they say on the call. This is good, man. This is a good numbers. This is what you want to see. You want to see a company growing in the areas where they had the highest leverage, and that's what TSSI just did this quarter. And we're almost back to break even. Geez, it hit 28.44 there for a second. Yeah, this is pretty insane price action. But y'all remember, there is only 13 million shares in this float, right? And it may go right back down. Here we go. So it doesn't take very much buying or selling because this order book is really thin. This thing can move $5 up or down, in 10 seconds. We've seen it, right? Last week we had a day where it was down 10% and the next day it was up 10%. And that was without any news. That was just day-to-day fluctuations. It's a small cap. I didn't see anything in here about them diluting. That, I think, is going to be interesting too on the call. I expect someone to ask him about the S3 that they have out. They have $150 million that they can raise, which at $30, it was 5 million shares, right? So you would be diluting 5 million shares into the total share count, which is 25 million. That's a pretty good dilution, but still 30 million shares isn't that much. In my video, I compared it to like Palantir has like 1 billion shares, and that doesn't stop them from moving. If you have the volume and you have the buyers, the stock will still move. Yeah, this whipsaw is pretty insane. From 21 to 28 to 25 in like 5 minutes. It might go back to 21. So here's the outlook that they gave. Given the strength of our first half performance and increased visibility into the second half of the year, we are raising our full year, raise our guidance, 2025 adjusted EBITDA outlook from at least 50% growth to at least 75% growth compared to 2024. Like, that's crazy. Like, they're expecting to grow 75% in the back half of the year. They increased their guidance by 50% for the back half of the year. Daryl continued, the foundational pieces of our business are in place, and we believe a full wave of demand is still ahead. We will continue to position ourselves to grow our business organically while exploring potential strategic opportunities, whatever that means. So they have the call at 5. Yeah, this stock's pretty wild. Yeah, I wish I could stay on here till 5, but I have somewhere to be. So I'll probably stay on for like 5 more minutes and just see what happens here. So good guide. Revenue missed. Well, it didn't really miss because there are no analyst side expectations for this stock. We'll just say revenue was lower than last quarter, which we kind of thought it might be since procurement was so high last quarter relative to where it has been historically. But again, it was good to see that they did have a record quarter for their new segment that their new facility is for, which is the systems integration revenue. And I'd be curious to see why facilities management revenues were down. I would think as they have more work, they would have more facilities to manage. So we'll see if he says anything on that on the call. Just some other numbers. Gross profit was 7.8 million. That's up 72%. Net income, as we said, was 1.5 million. I think they had like 3 million last quarter. So net income was actually down 1.5 million, but that is entirely because of procurement. which like honestly, it's amazing that it was that good because procurement generated $90 million. So they had a third of the revenue in the procurement arena this quarter relative to last quarter, but their net income was only down half. Now that just shows you that the margins in the systems integration revenue are so much higher that the fact it only went up $2 million and procurement went down $60 million, but their revenue, you would think it would be down 2/3. It was actually only down a half from where it was last quarter. That's why they want to get into that business. And next quarter, say we get a full quarter and they're operational, procurement really won't matter anymore. I think if they, based on the projections they gave for the capacity for the new facility, which I think is 3 to 5x what they had previously, at 3x, you could see around 22 million in revenue for a full quarter in systems integration revenues at the new facility, and 22 million at their 30% margin. That would already put their net income at a record high, even if you don't factor in procurement. So that's probably why they're so excited about the back half of the year. It's good to see that they actually went up on that guide. So management doesn't seem too worried. We'll give it a few days, see how this like kind of pans out. Use the I probably won't add unless it goes under 220. I'll add, and if it goes under 20, I'll add to my shares. My calls are for March next year, so I'm really not that worried about it. A lot's going to change between now and March of next year. They'll have 2 full quarters of reporting and then a third that we'll know the guidance for at that point. And if they think the back half of this year is going to be, last quarter they were saying 50%. This quarter they're saying 75% growth. Hell, next quarter they might be saying they might guide up to 100% growth if they continue on this trend. And if they do something like that, I think we'll be back above 30 again by the time they report next quarter, or by the time they report into the fourth quarter. So yeah, sorry for anyone that had really short dated calls. I would never recommend like the August calls. I did actually open a straddle of calls and puts for today for August because I knew this would be a huge move. So I'll probably make money on the puts enough to offset those calls and pocket some money. And then my March calls, I'll just leave. Unless he says something in the call that is like scary to me, like I'm not particularly concerned about the fact the revenue missed only due to procurement revenues. Because if procurement had come in where they had been last quarter, they would have beat quarter over quarter because systems integration was higher. But yeah, I'm going to hop off. I am going to go play some golf if it's not raining, which it is right now. Good luck to everyone. I'm going to hop back on. I might do a video again later tonight after the earnings call to just go through what they actually say. And I don't know if I'll do it live. I might do it live and just open the transcript or just listen to it live and see what he says. And yeah, unless something alarming comes out of the call, like they're seeing headwinds or anything, around tariffs, stuff like that, or if they say something about losing, part of Dell's service, I'm not too worried. And hell, I mean, there's still a chance that they get on the call and say, hey, we have a new customer. We're not ready to, release it because we're still in the final workings of our deal. Or they might just flat out say they have somebody new. And if that happens, this will completely reverse this price action. So it's still early innings for this company. They're really young. They just became profitable like a year ago. And, there are growing pains. They just added a new facility. They haven't really grown into it fully yet. They haven't even run a full quarter, right? It hasn't even been operational for a full quarter. So there's still a lot we don't know about them. So yeah, good luck, everyone. Happy trading. Feel free to DM me if you have any questions. I'm always available. I will have my phone on me. But yeah, I might talk to you again tonight if you're on. If I do set a live, it'll probably be at like 9 p.m. Eastern time. Otherwise, I'll just do a video and post it All right. See you.